Imagine yourself in the year 1958. It's Saturday night, so you hop in your Ford Thunderbird and pull up to the new drive-in movie theater. You're enjoying an ice-cold Pepsi when the newsreel about the new Soviet satellite Sputnik 3 starts to play.
It's an impressive indication of Russia's major strides in science and industry, played up for all it's worth by the Kremlin as a red victory in the battle for world prestige.
You wonder, is Russia winning the space race? Will they become more powerful than the USA? Is World War III on the horizon? These were all important questions because this was the middle of the Cold War. The two countries were in a technological and military rivalry that started after World War II. Fundamentally, they clashed over the best way to run a country. On one side, there was America, with its belief in democracy and a free market economy. On the other was Russia's belief in communism, defined by its absence of social classes and trust in common ownership. They needed a diplomatic solution to help thaw the Cold War. Enter the American National Exhibition in Moscow. Realizing that they may never see eye to eye, they came to the conclusion that making connections between the two countries could help avoid nuclear war. In the summer of 1959, this bridge took the form of back-to-back national exhibitions. Modeled after World's Fairs of the 20th century, each exhibition was a showcase of cultural diplomacy, displaying the best of what their country had to offer. For Russia, this meant putting their space technology on display, including airplanes, trains, and Sputnik, the world's first satellite in space, at the New York Coliseum in June of 1959. While filled with technological marvels that spoke to their military power, it left the million American visitors less than excited about life in Russia. In stark contrast, the American National Exhibition in Moscow just a month later was packed with shiny examples of modern American lifestyle and the luxuries capitalism provided average citizens. Without needing a plane ticket, it gave Russians a taste of the American dream for just 1 ruble, and even threw in an epic debate for no extra charge. It all started in the spring of 1959, when the U.S. started its construction of the exhibition in Sokolniki Park, a green space about 6 miles away from the Kremlin. Soviet workers, many of them women, worked non-stop to build the exhibition's impressive structures. One of those was a massive geodesic dome built by American architect and inventor Buckminster Fuller. In total, the exhibition cost $3.5 million. The ribbon cutting was on July 25, 1959. The fair showcased around a dozen exhibits for Russian visitors to explore. These museum-like displays highlighted America's popular culture, including artwork, film, books, and sports. In addition, there was a lineup of live entertainment, including multiple fashion shows set to music. American companies like Levi's, Betty Crocker, Dodge, and IBM helped sponsor exhibits. Russians saw color TVs and Polaroid cameras for the first time, and lined up in the hot sun for their first taste of Pepsi Cola. During its 6 weeks of operation, the American exhibition welcomed around 2.7 million visitors from around Russia. To help answer visitor questions, the U.S. government hired 75 American guides, all young, educated, and Russian-speaking. They proved to be the true cultural diplomats of the exhibition. The guides fielded endless questions from curious Russian visitors about not only the exhibition, but about their own lives in the USA. As guide Olga Pollock wrote in her letter back home to Detroit, at ANEM, the Cold War was fought not by soldiers and spies, but by ordinary Americans armed with pins, pamphlets, and Pepsi Cola. In fact, the exhibits that were most popular were the ones where the American guides spoke freely, openly, and with humor. As Russian visitor Tatiana Stepanova explained, this made a huge impact.
I just somehow sensed how free that country was, through their gestures, through the way they behaved, through the way they would dress. You just could see that these were free people, and we were not.
She also married the exhibition guide in this photo, George Pfeiffer. It was true love, and all thanks to cultural diplomacy. On the fair's opening day, Nixon and Khrushchev were touring through the exhibits together. They eventually found themselves inside the color TV studio set up at the exhibition. Khrushchev took this opportunity to incite a debate where he continually attacked Nixon, capitalism, and the United States. These friendly but fiery attacks caught Nixon off guard, but he tried to be a good diplomat by responding to Khrushchev without getting defensive.
Вы адвокат капитализма, я адвокат коммунизма. Вот давайте мы посоревнуемся.
All that I can say from the way you talk and the way you dominate the conversation, you would have made a good lawyer yourself.
It was clear that this exchange was significant because Khrushchev was putting Nixon on the spot to defend his country and its capitalistic ideals. All the while, Khrushchev did his best to make communism sound prosperous. Fortunately, the two men had enough common sense to not let this escalate into words that would back them into a war. Here's Tom Touche, the attaché, explaining how tense the moment was.
And during this conversation, Mr. Khrushchev got belligerent. He was very critical of America and what we were trying to do with this exhibition, that we were, just trying to impose our ideas upon the Soviet people and so forth. And Nixon did not respond. He was polite. And as we walked out of the studio, Nixon turned to Ambassador Thompson. I was standing next to them. And he said, what gives with this guy? He's being very nasty, and I'm the host here, and so I'm being polite and showing him around. But if he starts this again, I'm going to let him have it.
After this 10-minute debate was recorded on film, Nixon and Khrushchev continued their tour of the exhibition and found themselves peering into the Whirlpool Miracle Kitchen. The Whirlpool Miracle Kitchen was displayed inside the exhibition's 6-room ranch house that was split open for easy viewing. This dream house of the 1950s was nicknamed Sputnik, as a riff off of the Soviets' most prized possession, Sputnik. The kitchen was full of culinary inventions, including a dishwasher, washing machine, and even a Roomba-like automatic floor polisher that was still under development. Upon coming in, Khrushchev immediately started to poke fun at the modern appliances, insinuating that they were unnecessary. Joking about the foolishness of a lemon juicer, he famously asked Nixon with heavy sarcasm, "Don't you have a machine that puts food into the mouth and pushes it down?" But Nixon, this time ready for the fight after being on camera, held his ground despite Khrushchev pushing his buttons. He responded much more forcefully to Khrushchev's sarcastic insults, according to those who witnessed the exchange. He also explained that American prosperity depended on housewives using these time-saving appliances. Nixon then changed the focus of the conversation by highlighting that at least the competition between the countries was technological rather than militaristic. Now known collectively as the Kitchen Debates, Nixon and Khrushchev issued a joint statement the day after their exchange, stating that while what they said was frank, the intention was not to be hostile. Each world leader thought they outperformed the other, though experts have been debating who won for decades. In the short term, Nixon used his perceived victory in the debate as a key selling point for his run for presidency in 1960. As Time magazine foreign relations correspondent wrote of Nixon's performance at the American exhibition, he managed in a unique way to personify a national character proud of peaceful accomplishment, sure of its way of life, confident of its power under threat. The exhibitions profited American businesses too. The biggest success story was Pepsi-Cola becoming the first American drink to be sold in Russia. And although Russian spies likely stole secrets over the course of the event, it wasn't government information that led to lasting change. Individually, the exhibits gave Russian visitors a sense of what American life was like, from literature to music to food. Together, however, the exhibits made a much bigger impact, not just on the minds of Russian visitors, but their hearts too.
Often we were told by visitors that it opened the world to them. They had no way of traveling out, but the world came to them.
As guide Olga Pollock wrote in her letters, we left our mark here, I'm sure. It will not be easy for these people to forget us. And that's all thanks to the debate and diplomacy that happened at the American National Exhibition in Moscow.